A man has fallen into the river in LEGO City. Hey!
Originally released on March 18th, 2023, exclusively for the Wii U, LEGO City Undercover was Traveler's Tales Fusion Studios' first attempt at creating a LEGO game with an original backdrop. Instead of using a popular media franchise such as Star Wars, Harry Potter, or The Lord of the Rings, the developers set off with a LEGO set theme in mind, namely LEGO City.
I've played my fair share of LEGO games, but this is one that I've never touched.
Thankfully, the game has spawned legs and walked off the Wii U, so today I'll be looking at the PlayStation 4 version played through the PS Plus games catalog on my PS5.
My excitement is building, so let's not delay much longer.
My expectations for this game is that it'll be your typical jaunt through a LEGO-ified game, with lots of great humor, funny characters, and the standard affair in terms of gameplay. There's also full voice acting and an original story backing up this game, so I'm eager to see what they do with that creative outlet.
Alright, without any further ado, let's dive into LEGO City.
We're brought into the world of LEGO City Undercover to the tune of Katrina and the Waves' Walking on Sunshine, which is an oddly retro way to start this off. Chase McCain, our main character, is returning to the city after a 2-year exile to assist in the recapture of escaped convict Rex Fury.
There are a lot of names coming your way, so feel free to take notes if you need.
Prior to the capture of Fury, Natalia Kowalski served as a police informant, and ultimately, she provided the intel needed to put the criminal behind bars. She and Chase have a rocky relationship, as he's eager to see her again and she wants nothing to do with him, probably because he exposed her whistleblower identity during the trial. Also joining the cast is Mayor Gleason, who is responsible for Chase being back in LEGO City, low-level comic relief cop Frank Honey, and Police Chief Marion Dunby, formerly known as Deputy Dunby, the man who slapped the rubbery cuffs on Rex Fury's plastic hands.
All of this is explained either on the ship ride into town, within Mayor Gleason's opening greeting to Chase, or during Chief Dunby's brief to the police force.
After getting dropped off into the urban playground, Chase is tasked with driving to the police station. Here, the idea of LEGO GTA comes to be. You can hop from car to car, drive wherever you darn feel like, and even try to hit pedestrians. It's clear that the developers didn't intend for you to collide with them, and even if you're successful, nothing happens. Honestly, the idea of LEGO GTA is not appealing to me in the slightest.
I think on their own, the LEGO games are incredibly charming, and they're genuinely appealing by themselves.
A kid should be able to enjoy any LEGO game, even one for a franchise they're not familiar with, based solely on the gameplay and humor. The only reason someone would want LEGO GTA in my mind would be if they were exposed to GTA far earlier than they should have been, and this is their parents' halfway attempt to correct their mistakes. I won't be returning to the LEGO GTA concept anymore, since I think it's a nonsensical idea at its core.
It'd be like saying Barbie should make Family Guy dolls for all the non-existent 7-year-old Family Guy fans out there, or that General Mills should make a cereal-themed Doom clone. Wait a minute.
Here at the police station, Honey helps us get acquainted with all the police tech and personnel, and later Chief Dunby briefs the force on Rex Fury. One tool we'll be returning to throughout the whole game is the police communicator. As I said earlier, this game was originally a Wii U exclusive, so this thing is just a Wii U gamepad. It's basically the game's only device for creating obstacles in the different missions, so get used to seeing it a lot.
I think it's so funny how blatantly obvious it is that the police communicator is just Nintendo's failed thingamajig.
The gamepad had TV controls, y'all. Nintendo wanted you to use this to control your regular TV. With all that prep work out of the way, it's time for Dunby's seminar. I legitimately got some chuckles out of this scene. When the officers come down the elevator in random clothes, I was confused, but when I saw the Dirty Harry and Sherlock Holmes bits, I remembered I was playing a LEGO game and that actually good humor should be expected.
Hey, Harry! How many coffees have you had?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Did I have 6 shots or only 5? Well...
Okay, you've had enough.
Now, Rex Fury has been a habitual criminal since he was 6 years old.
Good heavens! At that age, he would have still been in preschool.
Elementary, my dear fellow.
The briefing is interrupted by a bank robbery in progress, and the force is dispatched to bust the perps. For some reason, they're all clowns. Chase, being the best cop ever to grace the oddly shiny LEGO world, is tasked with busting 3 clowns on his own. Quick aside, but this game is really reflective. I know LEGOs in general aren't matte, but I feel like they've really dialed up the RTX on this game. Maybe it's just because this is the most modern LEGO game I've played besides the Skywalker saga, but I don't remember the characters from my childhood looking like this.
No time to get too into that though, we have clowns to bust.
The first one requires us to ram his car over and over and then chase him down on foot. The second one is located using a new Wii U gamepad gadget that lets us see criminals through walls, and the third one is similar, but on a cargo ship. Once they're all caught and cuffed, the first mission of the game ends.
The second mission started off terribly because my game crashed and I lost some pretty essential footage.
Oh well, It's only a cutscene, and I'll do some dramatic reenactment B-roll as well. While resolving a bridge blockade issue, a pink convertible speeds by, and Chase races up to catch it. When he does, it's revealed that the speedster is Natalia, and she's furious that Chase ruined her life.
At this point, we know he somehow gave up her identity, but is that really enough to kick the guy out of town?
As she speeds off, she takes our car, so we need to get a new one. Ellie, our police contact, instructs us to build a vehicle call station at a nearby gas station. And after that's done, she asks us to swing by her sheriff uncle's ranger station to get a grapple gun in order to chase after some criminals hiding on top of a TV station. A quick drive over there, and some more allusion to Chase's cardinal police sin he committed and he was given the boot for, and we've got a grappling gun. While driving back to LEGO City proper, it occurred to me that I don't have any desire to explore this world.
I know there are things out there to find, and if I wanted to 100% the game, I would have to do some exploration, but as it stands in the moment, I can't fathom doing that.
Part of the reason why, I think, is that I'm not used to it. In traditional LEGO games, there's a central hub world of some sort, like the Cantina in Star Wars or Hogwarts in Harry Potter, but they're not open world.
Because of this, you can only use those hub worlds as a pseudo train station, hopping from level to level without having to go too far.
LEGO City Undercover spaces the levels apart, which makes going from point A to point B a lot more boring. It's the world between A and B that is supposed to entertain you, but it wasn't doing it for me. When I finally get to my destination and locate the criminals I'm in pursuit of, it's time for the game's first proper level. By that, I mean that completing this little stretch gives you access to free play, a gold brick, and, if you collect enough studs, True Jedi. Okay, it's not called True Jedi, but I never collected enough studs in a level to actually learn what this game's term is.
I also didn't know I was in a level until it was over, which feels either like an incredible flaw, since I would have changed my playstyle knowing my collecting habits would have been rewarded, or a massive success, because I was seamlessly transitioned from the open world to an instance location. You should either be extremely proud or very ashamed of yourselves, Traveler's Tales. I'm just not sure which.
In this level, we need to hunt down 4 escaped criminals using our new grappling gun and Chase McCain's sick action hero acrobatics. The stage is fairly easy to complete, but it is the first one in the game after all. I will say, during this level I got very peeved at Chase's insufferable one-liners. He makes a quip at the start where he mentions he needs to quit saying cheesy lines, then proceeds to say another dozen or so cheesy lines.
He seriously rivals Leon Kennedy in terms of goofiness.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
When catching the 4th criminal, Chase does a little hanging from the rooftop interrogation, and we learn that the criminals are all working for Rex Fury. While none of them know where he can be found, we are given a new lead, Blue, the fixer at the prison on Albatross Island.
There's a small obstacle to clear before we get there, namely, building a boat.
Ellie gives us a new Wii U gamepad gadget to detect LEGO power bricks, and once we have enough, it's smooth sailing to jail. Now, I'll remind you, this is the jail Rex broke out of, and it's a big deal that he did. Albatross Island is basically this game's Alcatraz, with one major exception.
This prison isn't secure at all.
Not only are there guards asleep while the prisoners roam free, Chase can literally open the front door with no consequences.
In all fairness, no prisoners tried to escape while the door was open, but that doesn't mean this is a secure facility at all.
Our objective here is to chat with Blue to see if he has any idea of Rex Fury's whereabouts.
I'd be remiss, however, to not mention the 2 gangsters who are thoroughly dedicated to using proper grammar. They're not perfect, but the effort is there, and I'd like to reward it.
Yo, policeman, you belong in the law court, not our basketball court.
Hey, nice work, man. You be using the language real good.
I sure am due. Well, see, I ain't promising nothing.
Oh, man, that's a double negative. You have let me down.
Blue himself is a really funny character as well. I chuckled out loud at a few things he had to say, but I found this part especially funny.
I hope this plan of yours works, Blue. Are you free, man?
No, I am not Freeman. His lawyers might be watching.
Essentially, Blue is a prison smuggler, getting luxury items into the jail's walls for a fee. We come to find out that Blue was not in cahoots with Rex. In fact, he has no idea how Rex escaped. Gee, I really wonder how he could have ever broken out of here.
Because Rex shortchanged Blue on the import fees on a hot tub, Blue is more than willing to help get Rex back behind bars. And in return, Chase is going to ignore everything going on Albatross Island.
Under Blue's guidance, we are to don a new robber costume with its safe-cracking and crowbarring abilities and enter the Warden's room. Apparently, the Warden and Rex got awfully friendly with one another, and that becomes blatantly clear once we locate Rex's off-limits cell.
Cell in quotation marks, by the way. Those are kind of hard to communicate without my handy-dandy air quotes.
Now's as good a time as any to quickly talk about this game's combat, or rather, what this game calls combat. In older LEGO games, combat isn't particularly an art, but it's fun enough. In LEGO Star Wars, for example, you spam square, maybe do a jump slash or two, and you can chop through hordes of stormtroopers. In LEGO City Undercover, presumably because you're a do-good policeman, you can't chop through hordes of enemies. You run up to them, press square to do a wrestling move, then press circle to cuff them, and the encounter is done. There really isn't too much to it, and like I said, that's saying something for a LEGO game.
I don't really like it. There aren't any challenging aspects to combat, and encounters happen very frequently.
The level continues as we enter the warden's office and overhear him on the phone with someone we assume is Rex, where he says he's doing his best to not have this mysterious person return to prison. After another charming voiceover from Blue, not Morgan Freeman, Prison Man, we enter Rex's cell, suffer through some more one-liners, and ultimately find a hammer Rex used to escape. On the hammer is the symbol for the local Bluebell mine, which we head out to investigate.
The mission in the mines is really uneventful, so I'm just gonna speed through it.
Chase is looking for a miner named Stinky, who was the sole witness to Rex's goon's theft of Bluebell supplies. In order to find said Stinky, we delve into the mines. In classic LEGO City Undercover fashion, we need a brand new miner's costume and the ability to pickaxe rocks and use dynamite in order to see what lies deep within the earth. And by deep, I mean deep. Look at this literal freefall in the mines. Who dug this out? How do you go back up from this unfathomable depth?
The answer to that last question is apparently instantly.
As shortly after we find a tape recorder indicating that Stinky was kidnapped by Rex and his men, the screen fades to black and Chase is inexplicably back on the surface, where Rex Fury is waiting for us. It's here where I start to doubt Chase's abilities as a cop, since he puts up no resistance at all before Rex clobbers him. Instead of tying him up, kidnapping him, or otherwise disposing of the man who put him away the first time, Rex just leaves the scene, and Chase is left to recover and eventually pursue the criminal more. Natalia shows up as a paramedic to make sure Chase is still alive, and she also drops the bomb that her father has gone missing, presumably also kidnapped by Rex. Chase is fired up now more than ever to hunt the man down, and the first step on that mission is karate lessons, I guess.
I don't know. Things are kind of falling apart.
And now we enter the most frustrating stretch of the game yet, at least for me. When I arrived at the karate dojo as prompted to continue the story, I saw a 30,000 Lego brick barrier between me and continuing the darn game.
Basically, there was a mandatory super build required in order to cross over to where the next level is. The problem? I had nowhere near enough bricks to build the thing.
Confused as to why there was an arbitrary barrier put in front of me and the goal, I shut the game off and came back to it later. Once I returned, I was in the main city just outside the police station, and I started hunting for bricks. This sucked. I cannot accurately explain to you how mind-numbing and continuously demotivating searching for bricks is. Everywhere I looked in the city, I found Lego pieces, sure, but they were usually locked behind an ability I didn't have, so I was out of luck.
I spent an entire brickin' hour looking for pieces, and I was barely able to scrounge up enough to build the bridge.
When I was going through the woods to find said bridge, however, I literally doubled my brick count, just by finding things on the side of the dang highway. For free! Random brick in a log, 1,000. Brick locked behind one door, 10,000. Bricks just hanging out on the roof of a shack, 11,000 total. I was infuriated. Why would the game lock story progress behind an arbitrary number of bricks, especially when they're handed out for free right outside the obstacle?
That'd be like setting up a fancy security system to stop robbers, only to have the off switch be your doorbell. Just don't bother at that point.
And while I'm fuming, let's talk about these costumes. They're dumb. Why can't Chase pick up dynamite without wearing his miner costume? He seriously can't open a safe without running to find a changing room? Why do we even have the base set of clothes? They're useless and only serve to create an extra button press when cycling through outfits.
Okay, calm down. Maybe this next mission will be a nice palate cleanser. I can't lie to you. This level sucks too.
First, you do this outside stuff, which is just more brick collecting, so I'm gonna skip over this section and solely complain about the interior portion of the level.
When entering the dojo proper, something occurred to me. Chase McCain already knows self-defense.
Was I not just tossing criminals around like sacks of potatoes in the last mission? I saw criminals go flying, and I'm nearly certain it was Chase doing it.
This whole Chase doesn't know self-defense thing is just plain wrong. Maybe the sensei can teach us actual combat instead of just wrestling moves? No.
The game takes this mission to remind us that square throws enemies, circle ties them down, triangle dodges, and we also get a new ability to press circle before we press square to grab, which can be comboed into a throw.
You know what those are? Wrestling moves, like we've been doing for the whole game.
And you know what this game calls these new maneuvers?
Advanced combat.
Chase is now in the advanced program. I just got some advanced math homework. Can anyone help me out? The problems are pretty challenging. After all, it is advanced.
So, to recap the last hour and a half of playtime, I wandered around the pointlessly large world, running into dead end after dead end trying to find super bricks. I then found a bunch of super bricks next to the pointless brick quantity checkpoint, all to ultimately learn how to continue beating enemies the same way I have since the game started. This is really driven home when Honey calls in an SOS as he's been kidnapped by a gang in the city, and Chase needs to fight them off, recover Honey in his vehicle, and deliver the truck to the PD before the mayor's speech. This kind of mission, where you drive a vehicle under a time crunch with NPCs trying to run you off the road, becomes a recurring thing, especially in Chapter 5. Somehow, the kidnapping of Honey by a gang led by Chan Chuang leads Chase to believe that Chan is working for Rex Fury, so we go undercover to join the gang and learn more about its inner workings.
I'm fully willing to admit I wasn't paying the most attention in all these cutscenes, but this connection feels incredibly random and based in zero reality at all.
Just because a criminal gang did a crime they're associated with that other guy, it doesn't really add up to me. I guess I'm not a cop though.
Chapter 5 is all about Chan's gang, and we'll be doing a handful of those aforementioned driving missions in order to get all the information that we need. Before any of that though, Chase needs a disguise to go undercover.
I guess the LEGO City PD has only ever seen thugs in Breaking Bad, because Chase's undercover outfit is literally just a Jesse Pinkman original. I think he wore this one in Season 2. Once we've got new threads and a new Wii U gamepad gadget from Ellie that lets us remotely listen into conversations, Chase busts a robber who has an upcoming mission with Chan's father in order to steal his identity. Now that that's done, we do some limo driving, which involves taking billionaire Forrest Blackwell to the theater while dodging paparazzi in order to earn Chan's gang's trust. I don't even feel like I can make a joke about this, so I'm just gonna say it plain and simple.
This is way too Diana-esque.
Successfully Ubering a rich guy to the movies means we're just the bestest criminal of all time, and Chan meets with Chase in a back alley to ask him to go repossess another criminal's car, or something like that.
I don't know. All this crazy taxi stuff kind of blends together for me.
This mission involves driving to a place, doing some things, fighting some dudes, then driving again. It's peak LEGO gameplay. Chapter 5 wraps up as Chan dispatches Chase again, this time to respond to the burglar alarm going off at the limo headquarters. When we get there, a masked thief escapes with nothing. Chan did say his clients' identities are a secret, so I guess it makes sense that we pursue the robber even though they haven't stolen any material things.
My first instinct, which ended up being correct, was that this thief was someone we knew.
I figured it would either be Honey and some sort of evil mastermind pretending to be an idiot thing, or it would be Natalia, since we haven't seen much of her lately. Turns out it was Natalia, and she's trying to track down her father, who was last seen entering a limo. The only clue she found were empty bags marked with Papa Lardo's ice cream on them. Now, in another grand leap of logic, Chase decides that this guy shelling ice cream is also the leader of his own gang, and that Chan's gang works for Papa Lardo's gang, who works for Rex Fury.
Now, again, I'm not a police officer, but I'm 99% certain that gangs aren't really friends or even cool with one another. Don't they like fight for territory and stuff?
Not in the LEGO world. Here, criminals collaborate, they're super trusting, and the PD pays for everything illegal Chase does.
No, seriously. They paid for that car we repoed earlier, they'll be paying for some arms we steal for the Papa Lardos, and they'll even pay for us to rob a jewel.
If it isn't incredibly obvious so far, this stretch of the game has been super boring for me. So I'm just going to speed through the Mafia subplot. In order to gain the trust of the main Papa Lardo, Chase convinces the police to let cousin of Papa Lardo go free in a staged breakout, which makes member of Chan's gang Chase McCain a prime target to join the Papa Lardos, which is key in gaining their trust and ultimately getting closer to Rex. Post-breakout, cousin of Papa Lardo helps Chase get his hands on some freshly imported color guns that big man Papa Lardo has had his eyes on. Once we have an offering for him, he knows we're the real deal and sets us up with a heist. During that first meeting, there's actually a pretty funny cutscene where we walk around in first person with Chase doing a voiceover of what he's seeing in the mob's ice cream parlor. For how dull this stretch of game was, I did enjoy this part. So big man Papa Lardo really wants the bell pepper emerald that's locked away in the city's bank, and for some reason, he thinks this is a job for Chase. In order to gain access to the bank undetected, Ellie points us to enter through the sewers, and she also adds that diamond to our running tab. The mission in the sewers is pretty plain, and its main mechanic is the color gun we picked up earlier, which allows you to recolor objects in order to change their function. For example, we can turn a red icon into a green one in order to allow power to flow through it, or we can swap a dish to a silvery color in order to reflect lasers. Pretty basic LEGO game puzzle stuff, but I can't complain about it. The emerald is massive, and it kinda looks like that thing that hovers above a Sim's head to show how they're doing. During our bank heist getaway, Chase builds a giant truck thing called the Relocator. which drives disastrously slow and completely breaks the pace of the game as we truck the emerald nearly across the whole map. Eventually, we hand the diamond over, and the Pappalardo plot takes a backseat for a minute as Chief Dunby demands we start repaying our running tab by snapping some photo evidence of Chan criminals.
This is yet another use for the Wii U gamepad, and it's entirely shoehorned in.
Climb a tower, snap some photos, do some boring combat, and that wraps up Chapter 6.
Overall, Chapter 5 really ground the game to a halt. I know I shouldn't be expecting Oscar-winning writing here, but I can't see how anything we've been doing as of late is related at all.
Ever since the Bluebell Mines, this sentiment has been growing. Seeing Rex Fury and having that exchange amount to nothing so far is a real letdown. All we've done in the last couple of hours of gameplay is learn advanced combat, play Crazy Taxi, do a pretty normal mission, and get another forced use of the Wii U gamepad. All of this could have been avoided if the ending of the Bluebell Mines mission wasn't a complete non sequitur.
You wanna know how bad this problem is? Chapter 10 is literally called Back on the Case. There are 5 chapters of nonsense before we can get on the right trail again.
In another random side quest, Chan calls and asks us to boat over to Apollo Island to steal a lunar rover.
Why does he want a lunar rover? I don't know. Chase and Ellie seem to hint it's a big clue to Rex's intentions, but I haven't seen anything that would make me think that's the case.
All I've seen Rex do is clock Chase and then leave. Boating becomes a new mechanic we unlock, and it's even slower than driving a car. The mission on Apollo Island does have some funny dialogue, which I can always appreciate. This one was a little phoned in, but it got a chuckle out of me regardless.
Whoa! Sheesh! That is one small step, Foreman.
At the end of the day, we steal the rover and get a new astronaut disguise that lets us open astronaut boxes.
Wowie zowie, I'm so happy now I have 5 outfits to cycle through, each with 1 or 2 specific functions.
Alright, how about some more random events? That billionaire from earlier, Forrest Blackwell, gets kidnapped by some random dudes, and Chase has to go rescue him. Oddly enough, and even though Chase is in his robber outfit, Forrest immediately identifies Chase as a cop and insists he arrests the kidnappers. Once the dust settles, Chase gives Forrest a ride to the police station, and he ominously says the name Chase McCain just came up with one of Forrest's associates, and he insists they'll meet again soon. Next, Natalia gets kidnapped. Chase and 2 random pointless police officers head to Chan's scrapyard where Natalia is being held for seemingly no reason. Yes, she broke into Chan's territory twice now, but why did he leave her hanging from a giant claw? What's the endgame here?
Why not, I don't know, take her to a holding cell or just pop her Lego arms and legs off on the spot?
Some farm animals have escaped, and that's a job for a cop. Because we went behind Dunby's back and recruited the 2 useless officers to help, we get kicked off to the sheriff's team for a singular mission for some reason.
Punishment? To let things cool off? I don't know.
Dunby says we need to leave so that Chan comes back out of hiding, but Chase and his gangster alter ego are back in the city in less than 20 minutes.
Alright, let's just get through this.
Chase goes to the farm because the pigs are missing. We rebuild a tractor, refuel the tractor, plow the fields to find a key, use the key to get a farmer disguise so we can grow plants and glide with a chicken. Then we find 3 pigs in various places across the farm and beyond.
This chapter, and the entire game since chapter 3, is bricked up. And not in that way, you dirty dogs.
In all honesty, the bird gliding is pretty cool, but it could totally have just been a glider. Why do we need all these disguises just for them to have one feature? A gadget wheel instead of a bunch of outfits would have been just as effective, and it would have let regular Chase grab dynamite, for example, or open a safe without needing to swap to and from clothes. I know the game is LEGO City Undercover, but we can still be undercover without swapping suits every 20 seconds.
I'm going to stop bringing that up now, but just keep in mind that it's a constant complaint I have for the remainder of the game.
We're back in LEGO City proper now, as Big Man Pappalardo has called us for another heist mission.
I quite enjoyed that first heist at the bank, and I'm happy to report that this one is just like it.
While previously we've stolen jewels and top-secret government aerospace tech, today we're tasked with robbing a museum for a T-Rex skeleton. Chase's logic is that a T-Rex is probably going to be sold to Rex, and finding him is sort of the whole point of the game.
Real quick, logistically, stealing a T-Rex should be super impossible, right?
You'd either have to cart the whole thing away in one piece, or break it apart into all the little bones, and then somebody would have to reassemble it, and that seems like it would be tough. I suppose we'll see how Chase pulls it off in just a second. Getting into the museum for the mission is really fun too. In true heist fashion, we can't just go in through the front door. Using the farmer's disguise, we can grow some plants that allow us to climb up an adjacent, taller building, then chicken glide over to the museum itself. Once on that roof, we can drop through a ceiling hatch and continue our grand larceny lifestyle. I will say though, this level makes 0 sense. Big Man Papalardo's client wants the museum's T-Rex, but when we enter the dinosaur exhibit, there isn't a T-Rex to be found. There's pterodactyl displays, brontosauruses, but no Tyrannosaurus Rex. This becomes another super build challenge, where you have to complete little mini-games like a slot machine kind of thing and a whack-a-mole game to collect bricks, and after all is said and done, Chase can build a T-Rex and ride it out at the museum. What?
What's the point of breaking into the museum if we were just gonna build the thing ourselves? Why would anyone buy or sell anything in this world when just a handful of LEGO bricks is the ticket to building anything you could want?
Assuming this game doesn't follow the LEGO movie Master Builders concept, then the client could have easily built their own T-Rex without that much hassle. Furthermore, let's talk about how we get the dinosaur to the client. We drive the brickin' thing out the front door and parade it through town while smashing up police cars. We're basically in the most intense police chase that LEGO City has ever seen, causing millions of studs worth of damage to the PD's cars, and as soon as we get close to our hangar destination, they just give up. Frustration at the lack of realism aside, how does the client plan to get the T-Rex from here to wherever they want it to go? Will they also ride it through the streets of downtown? And the cherry on top of this who the heck wrote this game Sunday comes when Big Man Papalardo calls Chase for another mission, this time to steal a fire department boat. When asked if he thinks he can go undercover, Chase says he's never done that before, but is confident that he can get it done.
While I understand not wanting to share that he's familiar with disguises because that could lead Papalardo to think he's a cop, Chase McCain literally did go undercover as a policeman in order to break cousin of Papalardo out of jail.
Remember? He did that whole take a police prison transport and pretend to be a cop thing? Maybe that's not technically going undercover since Chase didn't interact with that many people, but he sure knows how to lie to get what he wants.
LEGO City isn't the most well-organized place though, so I would be comfortable saying the PD is just incompetent enough to buy any sort of tomfoolery. They do employ honey after all.
The fire department isn't much better, as Chase in his thug outfit can just waltz in, ask for training, and get put on the firefighting team.
Super random, but I actually know a guy who became a firefighter in my local area. He and I went to middle and high school together, and when he was like 14, he shaved his eyebrows off. Now he saves lives. Never let a first impression dictate your future, kids.
Joining the FD in LEGO City means getting another disguise, this time a firefighter's uniform that comes with the ability to douse small fires and an axe to chop down blocked doors, which functions basically the same as the robber's crowbar, but I digress.
The real challenge to making it through firefighting school is enduring the instructor's grating voice and accent.
LEGO City Undercover has made use of accents throughout the game for various characters, and I feel like they've been done tastefully. But this guy's dial was turned up way too high, and he has way too many lines of dialogue that I was starting to lose it a bit.
Well, don't you look as bright as a button. Okay, we're going to start things out nice and easy. Oh no, look! A raging inferno has erupted.
Oh, great heavens! Look! One of your soon-to-be comrades has accidentally turned their hose pressure up too high. But who could help him? Who might have some kind of valve?
Yes, you see where I'm going with this?
Oh no! Look! Several of your co-workers are trapped on that building!
Am I not the most excellent actor?
It may also have been that this was about 4 hours into my play session and I was kind of in a bad mood already, but I'm just gonna deflect all blame and point it at the devs because that seems easier.
Upon becoming an official LEGO City firefighter, we head inside the station allegedly to celebrate the chief's birthday. But in reality, we're going to sneak into the basement and make off with that boat that Big Man Papalardo asked us to steal. After handing the keys off to him with the intention of trailing him to finally see who the mysterious client is, we're interrupted by
actual plot development.
Natalia calls us to complain about the officers we have trailing her, and the major problem with that is that we haven't assigned any officers to trail her. Apparently, some men wearing dark suits driving a limousine have been stalking Natalia, and once she puts two and two together, they take their aggression to the next level.
Chase has to abandon his objective to go save the woman he likes, and this is the first semblance of a real plot point we've had since the beginning of the game.
I know every odd job, besides those pigs on the farm, will tie together somehow in the end, but without any immediate consequences or results, things feel disconnected and the plot appears jumpy. Natalia being in danger is an immediate threat, and there's finally something we can do to stop it. Arriving at the hospital where Natalia works yields a horrifying sight. With multiple floors on fire, gangsters in snappy suits wreaking havoc to and fro, and Natalia standing on top of a tower as the danger creeps toward her. At this time, Chase McCain has to battle his way from the first floor to the top of the hospital while everything is crumbling around him. And it's brickin' sweet.
Seriously, After a dozen missions of driving in circles, playing it safe, and locating lost swines, being in a high-stakes, actually immediately relevant plot scenario is a breath of fresh air.
At the end of the day, it's still swapping costumes and pressing square to insta-win combat, but the narrative ties it all together. One question though, when Chase gets to the bottom of the tower Natalia's on, he insists it's unclimbable, and that he'll need to glide over from a taller structure. How did she get up there then? Either the hospital is literally falling apart and the building is collapsing in real time, or she's some sort of acrobat that can only go up and not down. During the helicopter escape from the hospital after Chase saves Natalia, she explains how her father was working on a secret space contract before he went missing, which leads Chase to believe that Apollo Island, aka LEGO NASA, is the ultimate target of all the crime in the city. In his mind, the chain of command is as follows. Chan is working for Papalardo, Papalardo works for Rex, Rex works for the suit guys we just beat up, and the suit guys work for whoever kidnapped Natalia's father. Running all that through the old ABS plastic noggin reminds Chase that he's supposed to follow big man Papalardo in order to discover who the buyer is, so he races off to catch up. There's also a moment where Natalia thanks Chase and tells him that she's liked him in the past, but now he's too married to his job, so she won't go out with him.
I'm sure she'll change her mind by the end of the game, lest this isn't children's media with a predictable plot.
Since we missed the initial meeting, Chase has to scale a building and listen in on the conversation between Papalardo and his associate. Some parkour later, and we find out that the Papalardo gang is indeed working for Rex Fury, so Chase McCain's McHunch was McWright.
This is a long-time secret we were kept in the dark for, so some real detective work was required to make this connection.
My favorite part about this whole secret buyer thing is that immediately after we find out who the contact is on our own, Papalardo drops it casually in our next conversation. It's played out like he said it by accident, but he stops caring about keeping the secret almost instantly.
Rex Fury makes my blood boil! We do all the jobs, we take all the risks, but he treats us like monkeys and gives us,
Peanuts?
Chase? What did you hear?
Nothing. Except you mentioned Rex Fury.
Yeah, what does it matter? Yeah, that's the private buyer I've been working for.
My logic is that if we had just chilled out for a bit, Chase would have inevitably have gotten the call from Papalardo anyway, where he would have spilled the beans. Again, we've wasted our time, but oh well.
The call continues with Papalardo expressing frustration that Rex keeps giving the gang new jobs. He's behind on paying us, and overall gangsters don't like being beneath someone on the totem pole.
Like I said before, I'm pretty sure the mob in real life only works for itself, or maybe you if you've got money or a finger to give up or something, but either way, they ought not to work under another criminal organization.
In an effort to reclaim some independence, the Papalardos organize a hit against Forrest Blackwell, just because he's rich and we want to act out.
Chase, the number one guy in the gang apparently besides cousin of Papalardo, is sent into Forrest's house to rob anything.
This heist is really one of passion rather than prize. Also, I guess Papalardo kept the fireboat? I could have sworn we were supposed to give that to Rex. Inside of Forrest's mansion, particularly his large vault, things go awry as cousin of Papalardo is chased off by some security force, and it's not long until they find and assault Chase as well. Blackwell's security team are called the Sentinels, and their attire is eerily similar to that of the men we had to fight off in order to rescue Natalia back at the hospital.
That would mean it was Forrest's men stalking her, but with tensions running so high, there's not much time to delve into that theory.
A motorcycle chase and a standoff in the park later, and cousin of Papalardo asks us to head into the main HQ ice cream parlor location as big man Papalardo has stopped responding, and he fears the worst. Chase doesn't technically stumble in on the worst case scenario at the parlor, but the outcome definitely could have been better. Rex has sicked his man onto Papalardo, and it becomes our job to clean up the mess. The reason for Rex's betrayal isn't immediately clear, but after rescuing Vinny...
Vinny's the leader of the Papalardo gang, by the way. I'm not sure why I haven't called him by his name yet.
After rescuing Vinny from the freezer and convincing Rex's head honcho to rat him out, our next location becomes obvious to us. Rex has a heist of his own planned that starts at a construction site, and Chase will be taking the place of... whoever this guy is. I don't think they gave him a name. Thus ends Chapter 11. So we're off to the construction site. There, we're given our final disguise and a lesson in how to use it. While wearing the construction worker's attire, we can fix fuse boxes and use a jackhammer to break cracked sections of concrete on the floor.
Both of these abilities are explained to us by Arnold for some reason, and he's constantly spouting out names of or references to his movies.
Are you stupid? Somebody, get him to the chopper. I mean hospital. That gate needs repairing. Did you not hear it jingle all the way? Use the hoist. Do it.
Isn't anyone else doing any work here?
Oh, I'm sorry if this seems like a raw deal.
Are you going somewhere?
Don't worry, I'll be back.
A member of Rex's gang sneaks in to tell us to steal a crane, so we do just that as the level ends. The next task we have picks up directly after that, where Rex's gang member and Chase collaborate to steal a giant telescope off the observatory. During the escape, the police follow suit, but we lose them when jumping the bridge into Bluebell National Forest. Deeper within the forest, Rex's secret base is uncovered, and Chase is given the green light to head in thanks to the telescope on the back of his truck.
Here's where everything starts to fall into place, and the game even tries to connect some plot threads from earlier as well.
The coolest thing to happen in the secret base is that Chase's astronaut disguise gets a jetpack, which is freaking cool.
I don't care who you are, where you're from, or which LEGO set theme you think is the best, although choosing anything besides Star Wars or Castle is ridiculous.
Everybody thinks jetpacks are wicked awesome. Deeper into the mission, it's revealed that Rex Fury indeed did kidnap Natalia's scientist father, and that he's forced to work for someone higher up the chain than Rex is, namely, Forrest Blackwell.
We don't learn his full plan until the next mission, but I'm going to tell you now, because you're special, and I like you.
Years ago, Forrest Blackwell revealed a plan to develop the site that Bluebell Forest sits on, but conservationists, championing a rare species of squirrel, put the kibosh on his plans. Frustrated by LEGO City's bureaucracy, Forrest plans to use some of his stolen items, his large amounts of liquid cash, and Professor Kowalski's work to develop a new civilization on the moon. To motivate the professor, Forrest also kidnapped Natalia from Ellie's apartment. This explains some of what we stole for Rex/Forrest, but not everything.
Some missions still could have been avoided, and in my mind count as filler for the plot.
Like the Bell Pepper Emerald, for example. It's just sitting in Blackwell's house. Back in the secret base, Chase frees Professor Kowalski and the two escape on a UFO. Immediately, they fly to Blackwell's house to attempt to find and free Natalia. While rummaging through the house, Ellie phones in and lets Chase know that Blackwell has posted a large countdown and has invited the entire city to a press conference at the base of Blackwell Tower. We're told that the chief can't act unless we have hard evidence, so all we can do is cross our fingers that we find something concrete in the house.
I see what he means though. The only evidence we have is a key witness in the form of the professor, a police officer having seen everything with his own eyes, Natalia being confirmed as kidnapped, and all those gangsters who had a hand in making this thing possible. Nothing concrete by any means.
After stumbling across his plans, Chase informs Ellie that Blackwell Tower is, in fact, a rocket ship that will obliterate everything at its base once it launches. Time is running out, and as Ellie is trying to dissipate the crowd, Chase and Professor Kowalski have their eyes set on freeing Natalia and stopping Blackwell's plan.
The stakes are high going into chapters 14 and 15, so we'd best not delay.
I'm happy to report that the ending of LEGO City Undercover is good. Like, it almost makes up for the insufferable mid-game. The plot shines here, the levels make sense, and there are actual characters with motivations and things at risk of falling apart here. Professor Kowalski heads to Blackwell Tower in hopes of slowing the rocket launch, while Chase and Honey go to Kowalski's lab to grab two trucks equipped with the same shield generators that Blackwell stole. The plan is to contain the rocket launch emissions so that nobody nor property is harmed. Then we can worry about Natalia. Driving in past missions has felt so tedious, boring, and like a way to pad game time. But here, with actual tensions running high and emotions flowing, the driving is fun. Taking the shield generators with the clock ticking down is stressful, but in the best way. Arriving just in the nick of time, Honey and Chase set up the machines and take cover as LEGO City's tallest building launches itself into space. Once the dust settles, Professor Kowalski reveals that his hack into the ship's systems revealed that Natalia was on board, so Chase volunteers to use Apollo Island's launch pad to head into space after her, Rex, and Forrest Blackwell. Perhaps my last nitpick about the game is that in this world-altering scenario that surely every civilian must be aware of, LEGO NASA does not have a rocket ship ready for Chase to use, and he has to build it himself.
Come on, guys. We can do better.
Apparently, building a rocket isn't difficult, because this untrained normal dude / cop / robber / miner / astronaut / farmer / fireman / construction worker can assemble one in no time at all. What are we paying NASA for?
Also, just because I'm thinking of it now, the main villain in this game is a billionaire who uses his money to go to space.
Chase goes to space too, for what that's worth. The rocket launch is a success, and our hero quickly finds his way inside of Blackwell's gravity and oxygen-filled bubble on the moon.
This level must have been pretty par for the course, because I can't remember a darn thing about it, besides the boss fights at the end.
There is an outside portion, which I can't remember well, and an inside portion, which I only remember having to climb into a mech and solve an Insomniac Spider-Man 1 puzzle.
This is where the fun begins. Or, well, it's where the fun continues. This is a good part of the game.
Blackwell's furious that we redirected his rocket back home, so he sends Rex mounted on that T-Rex we stole from the museum to battle Chase in his mech. I'll ignore the fact that Rex's Rex looks nothing like the Rex we built in the museum, because I'm feeling positive at this game's conclusion. If I were a 6-year-old, this mech battle would be the most exciting thing I've seen in my whole life.
I'm 23, and I'm still pretty enthused about the whole shebang.
The fight itself is simple. Just throw barrels at Rex, then Mario 64 him into the energy containers, and the fight ends. An enraged Blackwell self-destructs the arena, and Phase 2 against Rex begins. This time, we'll use Advanced Combat to throw other astronauts into his shield, which allows us to do hand-to-hand combat damage to him.
The music throughout this whole endgame scenario is fantastic, and it really communicates the intensity and excitement of the finale.
The visuals add to this as well, with pieces of the ship's remnants breaking off and careening towards Earth. It's such a good experience.
And just to think, only a few hours ago we were hunting for pigs on some guy's farm.
Once Rex is defeated once and for all, Chase is back on the clock as Natalia and the surviving friendly scientists are unable to slow the cockpit down. For the last time, we get to do the skydiving minigame thing as we race to save Our Lady. Dodging pieces of the rocket while the music blares is so cinematic. And I'm not sure if the game did this on purpose or what, but the timer counting down was legitimately at 0 minutes and 0 seconds when I landed to save Natalia. So I felt so relieved when all was said and done. Chase enters the control room and activates the parachute, and everyone lands safely back on Earth. Rex ends up in a toilet though. Blackwell was last seen in an escape pod blasting off further into space, so Chase comments how he could still pose a threat to the city. In a moment showing just how much he's grown, Chase encourages Dunby to arrest Rex as the former embraces his new girlfriend, Natalia. Things are looking up for LEGO City, and the credits begin to roll.
I have very mixed feelings about LEGO City Undercover.
The beginning and end of the game were great from a narrative standpoint, but the gameplay itself, especially in the middle, dragged so terribly. Pointless missions, an excess of costume switching just to do one thing and switch back, and a general lack of direction in parts make the game a confusing play. Without a doubt, if I were a kid playing this game, I'd like it. I can definitely see a young kid spending hours and hours just driving around the city, finding collectibles, and grinding for 100% completion.
An adult would have a harder time wanting to do that, I think.
In contrast, a game like LEGO Star Wars, which is based on a source material, would still have that appeal, at least to me, even at my current age. The question in my mind becomes, is LEGO City Undercover's original story, characters, and setting a good application of the very formulaic template used to create LEGO games? Even something like LEGO Lord of the Rings, where I have no personal connection to the film series, would be easier for me to play than LEGO City Undercover.
I think the writing, again, particularly in the middle section, is the rock holding this game down.
You should never walk away from a gaming session thinking everything you just did was nonsense, and the second act of LEGO City Undercover did just that to me.
Still, I think this game has its audience and its set time to shine.
While it doesn't top my list of my favorite LEGO games, I do see why people would enjoy it or want to play it. Chase McCain's first of 2 adventures in LEGO City is far from TT's best work, but it's not by any means an awful game. It's got high highs and fairly low lows. A second pass or some additional writing time would have done the game good. But when all is said and done, we've worked together and saved our beloved LEGO City for posterity. The credits roll using the same song the game began on, creating a nice bookend to this adventure we've shared.
Who's this we I'm referring to? Well, it's you, me, Chase McCain, and this kickin' band. Take it away, Katrina and the Waves.